Hi, it's Timo. Welcome to Norwich City Central.
Hello everybody, Lewis here and welcome to the Norwich City Central podcast. Welcome to another edition in the Game Changer series. In this series I talk to people connected to Norwich City Football Club and the wider world of football and share their interesting stories and perspectives. It was an absolute pleasure and a delight to have Robbie Knox on the podcast. In this podcast we talk about a range of things from Norwich City to his time working at Soccer AM, to YouTube, to befriending Jaackmate and finding happiness. This was a great podcast and I absolutely loved filming with Robbie. If you are new, please subscribe to Norwich City Central and I hope you enjoy the podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Norwich City Central podcast. I hope you're all doing well. Delighted to be joined by Robbie Knox. Robbie, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me. I love the city of Norwich and I'm honoured to be on anything that is in Norwich.
Brilliant. Yeah, we're getting to Norwich shortly. I don't know kind of what the best way to introduce you is, whether that be being the first goalkeeper to win a trophy at Wembley, whether to be followed by a barn or just being Jaackmate's mates. Kind of what's the best way to just introduce you?
I don't know. It's hard. I mean, different people know me from different things. Like I was on Soccer AM from 2000 to 2007. So older people might remember that. I did characters called like Fixtures Man and Ginger and did bits myself on that. And then now younger people probably know me from YouTube or from doing Jaackmate's Happy Hour podcast on occasions and things like that, or various other things and podcasts and stuff. So it's, yeah, whatever you like.
Yeah. I'm just interested, how on earth did Barack Obama come to follow you, mate?
Right. So whenever anyone asks me this online, I always reply the same thing, which I say, we used to bang hookers together in the 80s, which makes me laugh because one, I was 12 at the end of the 80s. Two, I don't think. Well, I say no. I imagine Barack Obama isn't in the habit of banging hookers. Also, no. I don't think either of us would call it banging hookers. I think
I wouldn't imagine so.
I think there's a lot about it that makes me laugh. So I always say that. The boring truth, though, is that in the early days before he was president, he automatically followed anyone who followed him. So I followed relatively early, and he follows I think 600,000 people there. So we're not best mates, but there's
only one Robbie Knox he follows there. That's the most important thing.
Well, there you go then. That's all right. Yeah. I'm his favourite Robbie Knox, I think.
Yeah. How you been finding lockdown, Robbie? It's been weird times.
It's really weird. Yeah, it's not that different from my normal life in many ways. Good. Like I people ask me about my YouTube channel, I say it's me just sat around the house a lot of the time, and that it's kind of what I'm doing now. I think for different people it's very different. I mean, I thought at the start of it I thought I'll get so much YouTube stuff done and all this at home all the time, but then I didn't think that I'd have to like homeschool kids, which is a nightmare. Like teachers should get 800 grand a year, like minimum. Wow. Like it's not like that. It's so hard teaching kids.
How old are your kids?
9, 6, and I've got a 3-year-old as well.
Okay.
That's a nurse, just started back at nursery this week, so I haven't really been teaching him anything. But I'll just teach the 9-year-old, and she can pass knowledge down with the others. Chinese whispers.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Obviously, starting to slowly ease down on lockdown now, and sport and football's beginning to return. Do you think it's the right time for football to return now? Do you think?
I don't know. It's probably something for more intelligent, knowledgeable people than me to decide. I think. I don't know. I don't know how it will work if one player gets, because they play games so closely together. Like sometimes they're talking about, some people might be playing 3 games in a week. If one player gets coronavirus, who's at the end of that, then are they going to have to go through the teams he's played in the previous ones, and they're just going to have to shut the league down? I don't know. I'm not sure. As someone who grew up in Kent in the 80s and as a result supports Liverpool, I'd quite like to play at least another couple of games and just another few to get that done. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it goes. But I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure as soon as let Liverpool play a couple of games, you'll be like, yeah, it's fine now. Just end it there.
Yeah, that's fine. Feel free to end the Champions League. That's fine. Keep last Champions League scores. We'll end that, but just finish off the domestic.
Yeah, definitely. I'll start with a few questions actually from the audience. Duka says, earliest football memory, mate.
I remember watching, I remember watching the 1986 FA Cup final Before Everton, when Liverpool won the double, which I imagine is probably why I started supporting Liverpool, and that my friends supported Liverpool as well. So that was, and I remember the 1986 World Cup quite clearly. So I think it'd probably be that summer of that, from basically then onwards. I might well have seen football before then, but I don't remember specifically watching a match before that cup final.
Do you have a favourite football memory as well, mate?
Well, I was in Istanbul when Liverpool won the Champions League against AC Milan in 2000.
Oh wow,
we were 3-0 down. So that's quite a hard one.
I'm not sure you can beat that. Yeah.
Yeah, but then also there were. I mean, I used to go to my local teams growing up, Sittingbourne in Kent. I used to go to them all the time, and I remember a game, Sittingbourne versus Dover in the FA Cup first qualifying round or whatever, or preliminary round or whatever it was, like that, and an away game where Sittingbourne got a really late win. I remember that being amazing. And I remember I go to most Scotland home qualifiers because my family are from Glasgow originally. So a lot of sort of good Scottish memories as well. So it's quite a few of them. But yeah, I think it's quite hard to beat Istanbul.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I obviously live in Faversham, which is quite close to kind of where you're living now in Kent, and yeah, just that kind of feeling of non-league football when I'd go to watch Faversham. There's something very wholesome about it, isn't there? And
yeah, I used to really enjoy it, and also it's quite weird to explain because I grew up on the Isle of Sheppey. It's an island. I had no idea. When I started supporting football, I had no idea where places were because it's not like Gillingham and Maidstone. Maidstone at the time were before they went bankrupt. They were the two sort of properties. I think at the time, I when I probably got into football, I think Gillingham probably would have been the only one in the league then. It's quite low down, and it wasn't. And I didn't really know. I think I probably knew that Gillingham was probably the closest team, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's quite weird being on an island and not really sort of understanding.
But it's quite.
I think a lot of the time, if you're like in the northwest of England, you've got loads of football teams everywhere, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But down in Kent, there's a bit of a shortage of them. Or there certainly was when I was growing up.
No, there still is. Do you miss working at Soccer AM? Obviously, we get into Soccer AM later on in the podcast, but do you miss it?
I miss elements of it. It was a brilliant job to have in my 20s, and I loved it all. And I wouldn't swap it for anything. But it was long hours. It was no holiday during the football season. I really like skiing, so that was a bit of no days off. Yeah, so you're working till quite late on Fridays. Your Saturday's kind of a write-off as well. So there's quite a lot of downsides in some way, and it wouldn't really fit in very well with family life, I don't think. Now I've got 3 kids, and I spend Saturday mornings now just taking them to various clubs and stuff. So the things I miss from it are the people, and this sounds a bit weird, but there's a rush, sort of adrenaline rush of a live TV show where you can't stop it. You do lots of things before where you go, okay, let's do that again or that. But when you've got your headset on before this, and they're in the gallery counting down the start of the show, like saying 20 seconds and all that, and you can't go, oh, we're not ready. There's nothing you can do, because otherwise there'll be just nothing on air. So I sort of miss that sort of buzz of doing live TV, I suppose.
Yeah. And finally, if you could choose to spend time with anyone in quarantine, who would it be and why?
Oh,
quite a good question, that one.
My family I really like. So I'm quite happy with that. If we're not including my wife and kids, then do you know who'd be lovely to spend quarantine with? On a Norwich City thing is, I firmly believe the nicest man in football is Ewan Roberts, who came on Soccer a few times, and occasionally when I pop up to Norwich, we do go for a pint. So I think Ewan Roberts would be the best possible quarantine buddy that you can imagine. Yeah. And
if you could have Delia Smith, supplying the food as well, I think
she can
the
cook.
Recipe of success.
She can cook and leave it at the front door, and I don't want to come on the property because social distancing. That she leave it at the front door, and then you and I can go and collect it. And
you just have Stephen Fry just from behind the window, just firing jokes and knowledge.
He can pop in as well. Yeah, they can all come. They can all come round now that we have barbecues. They can all come round and have a barbecue together. Love that.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to kind of your story now, as this podcast is all about sharing the guest story. How did you manage to get onto Soccer AM? Soccer AM, what was that journey like? Because you studied something unrelated at university.
I studied economics at University of Norwich, University of East Anglia.
Good choice.
Wonderful. So I genuinely, and even people like Jaackmate, who is from Norwich and lives in Norwich now, doesn't quite get my love of Norwich. I genuinely believe Norwich to be the best city in the country. I think it's in the top 5 cities in Europe, and probably the top. And I've not been to enough cities in the world to fully give this. It's one of my favourite cities. I'd love to live in Norwich again. So I studied economics. I went to university, studied economics. At the time, you didn't have to pay to go to university, and in fact, in my first year, I got a grant because we came from a lower income. So it was an easier decision than going to now, where you end up with lots more debt. I mean, you still take on student loans and stuff, but not for your tuition. But so I just wanted to go to university, and I was all right at economics. I thought I'll do that. But then while I was there, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I quite liked some media stuff. I did the student radio while I was there, and then I went to Canada for a year didn't want to get a job. Came back, got a job at a TV studio, working on the things like 15 to 1, if you remember that, and The Weakest Link, and various stuff like that. Is in London, just making tea and coffee. I did that for a year, and then someone I knew actually from university, from the student radio station, a guy called Dan Trelfer, who's in some of my videos now. He was working for a company called Avalon that were Tim Lovejoy, who was the Soccer AM presenter at the time, agents at the time. And he heard that Tim was looking for someone to work there. So I just sent off a CV, went for an interview. They offered the job to someone else. He couldn't start in time, so I got the job.
Oh, what the?
Yeah.
There is a bit of luck to it, isn't there, in a way?
There totally is. And I think I was very lucky at the time. I think I was lucky, but then also I think there's a lot. You get luck the more work you do to a degree, in the fact that I was doing the student radio stuff and making contact.
You create your own luck, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. So
what was Norwich like as well? I've got to touch on that as well. Obviously, living in Norwich, because I don't live in Norwich currently, and when I go to Norwich, there is a sense of, like, as you say, it's a really, really good city. Well, what was it like, kind of spending your time in Norwich, and did you have any favourite places, any favourite pubs?
Yeah, I was there from 1995 to 1998, so it was basically Britpop was between those years. So like in the first term I was there, they had playing at Union Pulp, the Stone Roses, and Black Grape in the first term, and then saw loads of like Manic Street Preachers, Chemical Brothers, loads of bands came through. Because the good thing about Norwich, if you're a music fan, is there's nowhere else nearby that they're going to go. Really, like they're not going to go to Bungay to play like gig sort of thing. King's Lynn is not really a venue.
No.
Might go to Cambridge, it's a bit far, isn't it, sort of thing. So really, like if you're in Liverpool, bands might go to Manchester or vice versa, sort of thing. But bands of a certain size would always come through Norwich. So you got a lot of that. I like. I think the air is very clean. When I was living in London, I got to Norwich. I think you'd instantly notice that if you got off the train, you go, God, this is nicer. I think it's a beautiful city. Love loads of great pubs. In terms of great pubs, we used to drink in a pub that was called the Reindeer. Then it became called the Finesco in Firkin, and then I think it might have gone back to the Reindeer. I have no idea what it's like, what it is now on Deer Road. And then a lot of the sort of uni pubs in the sort of Golden Triangle area. But yeah, no, I absolutely love living there. I love the city, and I love Norwich City as a result of that sort of thing.
Did you go to Carrow Road during your time? Or not?
I went a couple of times. I think I might have got back. I think Norwich possibly got relegated around 1995. And this might well be completely wrong. I seem to think
94, yeah.
94, yeah. So I think they just got relegated when I went to uni. So yeah, I said to go. I think I remember going to see maybe Sheffield United game, possibly. I think when I was there, and another one. I definitely went to a couple of games. Games while I was there. Yeah.
Enjoy it or
love it? Yeah. It's nice. Good locations. Well, very convenient. If you're an away fan going to Norwich, very good. Right, very walking distance from the station. Really, really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely. And Soccer AM, obviously, when you were there, I would say it was probably at its peak and at its best. It was quite one of Britain's kind of most beloved shows, I guess, in terms of the football community. How would you kind of describe Soccer AM when you were there? Because it had a bit of a laddish culture, I want to say, to it.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think lad culture gets a bad reputation now, and rightly so, because it's like anything. Once idiots get involved, it ruins it. Like going out in Shoreditch in London used to be really good fun, and then idiots turned up, and now it's not, sort of thing like that. And with a lot of things, the more popular something gets, the worse it was. But I think what you have to remember is in the sort of 80s, early 90s, there wasn't really an environment where women would come to the pub and watch football. It wasn't. It was more a sort of this is what men do sort of thing, and have a pint sort of thing. So I think in many ways it was very inclusive, the sort of lad culture sort of thing. I think it was certainly from a sexist point of view. I think it sort of was quite inclusive in some ways, not for everyone, but I don't think it's what it has become now. But it's a WKD adverts. And in terms of that, yeah, I think there's bits that, without a doubt, that I don't think stand up now. Like soccer thing, I don't think would be particularly popular now, sort of thing. And but I think it was of a time, and I think things will move on, and rightly so. But the atmosphere was generally quite good. I think it was friendly as well. I think lots of shows came along at the time, and there were sort of versions of Soccer AM on other channels, and they last for a year or two and disappeared. And the mistake they always made was being nasty to people and taking the mick out of them a bit much. And we would joke around with people, but we'd always try and do it in a more inclusive way. So, for example, the best example I can think of, I remember there's a bit where we had a thing where someone took an outrageous dive. And whilst you want to highlight and show it, our angle would be, we'd say, that's a horrendous foul. He should have a ban. That's absolutely disgusting. We need to get this man out of football. But the other guy, and everyone knows that's not the case. But it's a way without hammering this bloke that's taken sort of thing. I think being sort of kind and nice was one of the better things about the show.
No, yeah, it always came from a good place, Soccer AM, and yeah, it was beloved, wasn't it, and really, really popular. What were your roles whilst you were on the show, Robbie?
When I first turned up, Sky had weird job titles. I think I was a production junior, but basically that meant most of my week was involved with props and costumes for the show, and I'd also have to do things like book soccerettes and reply to post and things like that when I first started. So a lot of it was a really weird way it worked, and I don't know why. It just had been done this way by whoever had done the job before and the person before them. But we had a script meeting in the morning on Friday, everything we planned in the week, then a script meeting where we'd finalise everything that was going to be in the show. And I wasn't allowed to get anything in until after that meeting. So basically we're around like an Isleworth out near Heathrow. So I had from maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock on a Friday to get everything in for the show before the shop shut.
Oh, wow.
And if anything was wrong, you couldn't change it because things are coming. So and there was no one gave me a list and said you have to get these things. I'd be in the meeting scribbling down and go, okay, we need this, we need this, we need this. So you wouldn't know until the show if you got everything. So it was quite a high pressure. What I do find now though, it really helped me out, is I never feel that I've got too much work on, even if I've got a huge amount of work on, because I know you can just write a list of things and go and just do things one at a time. And some of the things you got asked to do were crazy in hindsight. Like I got asked to, for no budget, get a horse or a pony, horse to come to the car park in Sky at 6:30 in the morning or something like that to film a sketch. But then,
oh wow!
And you think, well, how you do that? But the answer is, you at the time probably was the Yellow Pages or the internet, or whatever. You'd go through and you'd find all the farms within a 10-mile radius, and you'd phone up every farm, hello, have you got any horses? Would you like to? And you'll find one. You'll find someone who likes soccer AM, or who just wants something to do, or like wants to show off their horse or something like that. And so you just have to do the work. And
I don't think some people are going to know. Some of the listeners are going to know what Yellow Pages actually is.
No, I dare say it was basically like the internet in a book. If you wanted to find out a phone number of a company, you'd go through a little section, and if you wanted to find washing machine repairman, you go to W, you'd find washing machine repairman, and then you'd have to find the company that you wanted or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a good system for the time. I don't know if it still exists. I imagine not.
Yeah, and then what's some of the other roles you had? Because obviously you was behind the screen in terms of doing some editing and researching, but also in front of the screen as well. So
I went through various things of editing and stuff like that, and doing different features and that. And then eventually, towards the end, I did the music on the show as well. So I'd listen to all the music that was out and try and track down interesting things. And I'd sit down with Tim, and we'd choose what was going to go on the show. And I also booked bands and stuff like that. But then my job was liaising with the guests. So myself or someone else would book a guest, and then I'd phone them up during the week and do a research chat with them, where you basically go, I'd write down a few little notes to chat about, and then have a chat with them, find out what they're up to, and from that I'd write an interview.
Yeah.
And then on the day of the show, I'd make sure they got there, make sure they'd been picked up by their taxi or whatever, got there, brief them, get them on, take them to the pub after as they wanted to, and then get them in a taxi home. So all the sort of guest rate stuff. And then on the screen, I did various bits. I was like a character called Ginger, who was a bisexual mute Air Force pilot. This character's Colonel Ginger. I was a character called Fixtures Man, a few other little bits, and I did some sort of vox pop things in the street as well. I think that's most of the highlights.
Do you have a character called Tramp as well?
Yeah, that was just sort of me. Like, it wasn't. I had long hair and I had a beard before people had beards.
Okay.
Like, the only other people who had beards that I saw on TV of a young age were Serge Kasabian and Justin Lee Collins. And people would say, "Oh, you look like Justin Lee Collins, or you look like Serge Kasabian." I go, "Well, Serge Kasabian and Justin Lee Collins don't look alike. Like, they're just the only other people with beards." So I had a sort of quite a big beard. So I think it's, Tim used to call me Tramp or something like that, and they used to shout that, and you get people occasionally shout in the street and stuff like that. So kind of retro appeal.
Did you mind that, or?
No, not at all. No, everyone was very nice. Like, it was quite weird being, in the loosest possible sense, famous amongst a certain group of people. But it was the sort of people of my age. Like, so if I went to a pub of an evening, someone would come up to you or would recognise you, or if you went to an Oasis gig or something like that sort of football fan sort of audience. I didn't mind it. I don't think it's good or bad, particularly the sort of fame side of it. I just think it's a thing. It's a thing that happens. But there's bits that I didn't particularly like. Like, you're sort of, it's a bit weird when you go into a pub and you know people are looking at you, if that makes sense.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
If you go to talk to, like, and you're sort of aware it will happen before you go in, and you sort of see people looking out or pointing, and you're trying to have a conversation with someone, but you're also sort of slightly aware this is going on. Yes. So there's that, but it was fine. I mean, it wasn't horrendous.
Yeah. When you were on Second Round, did you have kind of any favourite guests you had on? Because you said you were responsible for the musicians, but did you have any kind of footballers or favourite musicians who you interviewed?
Footballers, in terms of what? In terms of as people, funny, or just heroes?
Go with both.
Okay. The nicest person we had on the show was Ewan Roberts. I believe genuinely was the nicest man in football. Musicians, we had Noel Gallagher a bit, and I was a massive Oasis fan growing up, so that was incredible. Manny from the Stone Roses was brilliant as well.
Okay.
He came on quite a lot, and I remembered I was one time just before Christmas. I was in we were in the rugby club across the road. We used to go to drink afterwards, and having a few drinks with him, and we started talking about Christmas lights, and I was saying how there's a street near me that had these amazing Christmas lights. Oh, not like ones the council put up, but on people's houses, those sort of Christmas lights.
Yeah.
And so he and he was going, "No, Manchester's got much better ones." We're arguing about this. And anyway, forgot all about it. I was walking down to the pub to meet some friends on Christmas Eve, and I just got a text from home, and it was like loads of photos from Manny of Christmas lights in Manchester. You've been around on Christmas Eve taking photos. It just said, check out these beauties, Merry Mithmas, love Manny. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I took a few back and sent them over to him like that. And I was in the pub with my friends, and they'd all sort of went off to the bar or the toilet like that. My phone rang, and I answered, and Manny going, those are shit, and just ripping into the Christmas lights. I'm like, hello, Manny from the Stone. You're just phoning me on Christmas Eve. There was no one around. I was like, but yes, he was lovely. Lots of people I got on really well with. We didn't really have many people that worked. We didn't really have hardly any people that I didn't get on with, because I think you had to you sort of knew the show. You wouldn't go on it if you took yourself too seriously. I'm trying to think who else was great. Jerry Taggart I really liked. Leicester. Robbie Savage I was always really fond of as well. Because you'd have the fans of the week on as well, and they'd always. When you wouldn't normally tell them who they had on beforehand, I don't think. But when they came on the show, you got them go, right, we've got, so go through, so we've got Robbie Savage on, and they'd all go, oh no, what a knob and that. And by the end of it, every single one of them were going, what a lovely bloke he is, something like that. But I accept the Robbie Savage on the pitch, very different. The Robbie Savage on the pitch.
Yes.
So loads really, yeah.
Yeah. Did you have, as you said, what was it like? You said you had the Gallaghers and lots of people who are kind of massive inspirations and heroes as you were growing up. Or was it kind of like being closer to them? Was it quite a surreal kind of moment?
It was weird, yeah. I mean, I didn't generally get sort of starstruck or anything like that. But it was, I remember sitting there in the green room when Noel came on and I'd met him before and he'd been on a few times. He's going, Robbie, chatting away and just sitting there and having a chat about, I think we were having a chat about, went to see Johnny Marr play, and we're both having a chat about mutual Johnny Marr. And I remember then going, this is weird. Like 18-year-old Robbie would love this. So yeah, stuff like that was weird, but pleasant. But I mean, it wasn't. I never really got caught up in it all. I didn't. I didn't have a desire to be everyone's friend. There's a few people. There's a band called Star Sailor who I'm really good friends with now, who came on the show, and my friend Kelly Shirley, who's an actress. She was in EastEnders. She's in she's called The Long Run. That's on Sky, that Idris Elba thing at the minute. She's so I've got some friends that I'm still in touch with, but I wasn't trying to be mates with all these people, sort of thing, because it's a work thing and something we get better with other. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. Did you particularly have any funny stories with kind of these musicians or footballers offset, would you say?
Oh yeah, we'd have some different sessions. I mean, we had you would rank the drinking sessions that happened afterwards. It wasn't every week. Like, you wouldn't always know when it was going to happen, and sometimes it would just be me going over the road. Occasionally, I'd be going to a game or had something on, so I'd get someone else to take them over or get the guests off straight away. But sometimes you would, and there's one. The biggest one was become known as the Star Sailor session, which was when we had them on for the first time. And I don't know if you know the band at all. So they their music is quite tender, romantic, sort of soft. Okay. Maybe soft's the wrong word, but that sort of vibe. And I was thinking, I didn't think before I met them, they're not going to be big boozers. But
how wrong you were.
Yeah, well, we had a few weeks beforehand. It was the day of Chelsea v Bolton, and a few weeks before we'd had Vernon Kay on. He said, I'll come back in a couple of weeks to go to the pub with you guys and watch Chelsea Bolton. So Tim came down, Helen was there, Helen Chamberlain, Star Sailor came and drank with us. I can't remember who else was there, but it was one of those sessions where everyone turned up, everyone we worked with was there as well. And we ended up with this just enormous all day sort of drinking thing. We ended up at the end, to cut a very long story short, we ended up back at Vernon Kay's house in Maida Vale. And I'd never been. My friend Mark had come down from Norwich. He lives there now. He's a lawyer in Norwich. He came down visit and he was going, do you do this every Saturday? And I was going, no, this is a weird one. Well, we were in Vernon Kay's house, and I remember he had his dining table was also a snooker table. You could take the top off or something like that. Okay. A snooker table or a pool table. And so anyway, got home about 1 a.m. a mess. The next morning I woke up feeling rough. I turned on the radio and Vernon Kay was on the radio. And the first thing I heard him say was, God, I feel so rough. And he was like really hungover as well. And he was talking about this drinking session the other day before. And he said on it, he said, if someone was around my house yesterday and took the cue ball from my pool table, can I have it back?
You didn't steal the ball, did you?
No, but I thought, oh no. So I went into my pockets and checked them. I didn't have it, but I thought there's not many people in the country that literally had to check that they weren't people responsible for this. I found out since who did have it, but I think it was a time before it was easy to buy a cue ball on the internet. I imagine now you just go on Amazon, but at the time it was a bit hard to track down a cue ball. I don't know. That was that.
Yeah, and you also had the Gallaghers as well. You said
the story. Noel on. Liam didn't come on, but I met Liam out and about occasionally.
Okay.
But yeah, we just would go. I remember being across watching a Manchester derby with Noel and Neil Ruddock, I think, was there as well. And that was being a bit weird and that. And you get occasionally to parties. I went to Noel's 40th birthday party. We all did, and went to like an Oasis party after they won Lifetime Achievement thing at the Brits or something like that, maybe.
Okay.
I remember. So we go to a few things like that. So that was fun.
Yeah. And then what advice, I guess, would you give to young people who kind of want to work maybe in the film industry or any industry? Is it just kind of building contacts, would you say, and things like that?
So I think it's very different to what it was when I did it, when there was gatekeeping. There's people there. You had, if you wanted to be on the radio, you had to find a radio station and do this for you. Whereas now you can kind of do anything. I think 100% I would say to someone who wants to do something is just to start doing something, whether it's a podcast, or a YouTube channel or a blog or whatever you're into. And if you don't want to be on camera, but you want to do film, find someone offers to be a cameraman with someone or help something out and do this, because you will meet people. And I know people will say to me, because I run a production company now, people will say to me, do you, can you, I want to do this. But when you know someone does something, they're going to work properly. Because lots of people go, I'd quite like to work in TV or something like that, but you sort of know that they're a sort of self-starter and can do stuff. So there's a guy, I was on a podcast called Talk Derby to Me, which is a Derby podcast. It was a very niche town city podcast.
Yes.
So I did. I was on that and a guy called Blake, and at the end of that, he sent me an email like later on and said, by the way, thanks for doing that. I'm a journalism student. I'm quite keen to get into stuff. Would you, if you ever need anyone, if I could ever shadow you or do anything like that, or work experience, something that'd be amazing. So I got him. I had a shoot for Carling with Wilfred Zaha, and he came down and I got him paid work to do that sort of thing. So just doing stuff, and then you meet people, and if you're professional and nice and good, then you'll people remember you and think of you, I think.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. So that's what you did after soccer, and you kind of had your own production company and you worked directing. I
went to do a thing called Channel B for 2 years. It was like an internet TV channel before YouTube existed, but there wasn't YouTubers as a job. There wasn't a job of being a YouTuber. People didn't make money from it, I don't think.
Yes.
So we did that for a couple of years with Simon Fuller, who managed the Spice Girls, and David Beckham and people like that. We did American Idol. So did that for a couple of years, and then I started up my production company and I've been doing that. That's still going. I've been doing that for 11 years. It'll be this year. And then a couple of years ago, I started doing YouTube as well.
Yeah, I mean, what inspired you to start up YouTube? Because, as I say, you're opening yourself up to a whole new kind of demographic.
Yeah, I various things. I wanted to do something creative, because when you're making videos for a client, they choose how it finally looks, and rightly so, because they're paying for it, and it's entirely up to them. And sometimes you agree with it, sometimes you wouldn't. So it's nice to be able to do something that you can do and think, well, this is what I want it to be, or whatever anyone else thinks.
Yeah.
You've got full control over that. But I did a couple of podcasts, and I hadn't really thought of doing YouTube, partly because I didn't know YouTubers. I was friends with Jack, and I'd seen his stuff, and I was friends with a girl called Helen Anderson, who's great.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know Helen there of Norwich as well. Just because I met them both at the same time. But I didn't know YouTubers beyond that, really. I wouldn't have known who. I might have heard the name KSI, but I wouldn't have known who he was. I wouldn't have known who the Sidemen were or anything like that. But then my friend Will Brazier, I was talking to him, and he was saying, "Oh, you should do a YouTube channel." And I said, "Well, I think it's sort of for younger people. Do you know what I mean? No one's going to be interested." And he said to me, he said, "I don't want to sound rude." He said, "But I know what it's like being a an 18-year-old starting uni because there's
Loads.
20,000 blogs about that every September sort of thing. What I don't really know is what it's like being middle-aged, you're saying in the nicest possible sense. But okay, so
Yeah.
I do that, and it's gone quite well.
Yeah,
Seem to
I
like
love it. It's very wholesome content, and I've seen YouTube particularly trying to push, beauty vloggers who kind of seem, I don't know what it is. It seems maybe a bit out of touch, whereas for me, I just like watching content, and that's why I kind of film my reactions to Norwich games as well. I just like content which is very real, and particularly in your case, it's very wholesome content. Like everyone has to deal with the bins and things like that. That's why it's so relatable.
I get a lot of messages from people I didn't expect who have who struggle with sort of mental health, whether it's depression or anxiety or stuff like that, who say they find the videos really relaxing, comforting. Some bloke, and those are amazing. Some guy messaged me the other day saying he had his first kid and there were some complications and they were in, I think, intensive care, but he couldn't go in because of coronavirus. He couldn't hold his own child and all this stuff. He said, I just came home and watched 10 hours of your videos, so thanks. I was like, that's so lovely to hear, and not anything that I thought might be the case. I think there's a lot of pressure that I didn't have growing up without the internet. I first went on the internet when I started university in Norwich when I was 18. So growing up at an age where there wasn't the internet, we didn't really have that social media pressure of you've got to make your life look good for Instagram or whatever. So what I try and do with most stuff is be honest about this. Is like not everything is what it looks like. I'm not posing with cars, and I'll do some exciting, nice things. I go skiing, and that's to nice resorts, and do things like that. But equally, everyone's got to take the bins out. And another thing that I remember Noel saying when we were in the green room at Soccer once is that he was saying that people always ask him to do. He was always getting asked to do like at home with Noel Gallagher. He says, I always say no. He goes, because the reality, Noel Gallagher, the rock star, the idea is more exciting than at home when he goes, I'm just watching TV. And just sat around. He goes, there's no parties going on or anything. I'm just doing that sort of thing. So I think everyone's doing the same stuff. It's just so I think I try and be honest with it so that there's less sort of, hopefully people can feel less pressure to pretend this. I mean, the only part I don't is with the kids are occasionally in bits, and I wouldn't put anything on with them that might be embarrassing or anything like that. So people go, oh, your kids are so lovely. I go, yeah, because it's the only thing to put on. It's visually like a mental. I'm not going to put that in the internet.
There's a YouTube channel, I can't think the name of them, but they're really, really big, and they literally film their kids doing everything, and they have they had a real life size dolls which people can buy for like $200 of their kids, and it's just absolutely insane.
I don't want to tell people how to parent because it is hard, but I do see some of these things. I remember seeing something that was like kids' first funeral, like a thumbnail, these kids crying, and I'm like, and it turned out it was, because I think I'll watch it again. This is absolutely, I thought I'll watch it. It's horrendous, and I'll send it to Jack if it's as bad as it looks. But it was a pet funeral, a hamster had died or something like that. But they were still crying in this thing. I was thinking, I don't think that's great. And if my kids, if one of the kids came back from school and said, I don't like these videos, I'd just take them down. I wouldn't care. I mean, it doesn't matter. I would just take down all the ones that they're in or whatever like that. I'd 100% prioritize that. And I always say to them, do you want to do this? And sometimes they go no. So when I did a video of a trip to Bulgaria skiing with them, and on the way over I just said to my son, I said, do you want to be I'm going to make a video on me, do you want to be in it? And he went no. So I went, all right, so I'll do a different video. Well, it would have been a different if it was like a family vlog thing, but now it's going to be more of a review type thing because he doesn't want to be in it. And then halfway through we were doing bowling and he wants me to film him, so that is it. So I think you got to just be respectful of them and go from there. Yeah, definitely. Because as you said, Jaackmate's kind of supported and promoted you. What's it been like, kind of, as I said, having this new audience? And do you have any goals with YouTube particularly, or just enjoy making videos? My plan is, so my sort of thinking is I'd like to move away from relying for income on purely on my production company, because a lot of the time it's me going and filming something myself or me editing it. So I do a lot of those sort of jobs because they're the things I quite enjoy doing because they're quite simple, and I'm not really into. I've done sort of TV commercials and that, but I don't enjoy doing them because it's a lot of work and a lot of pressure for a tiny thing. I just get bored of it. I like things that change a lot. I forgot what the question was now. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you have any goals with YouTube particularly?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. So my idea, but what I'm very aware is that if when I went skiing in March, if I broke both my arms, I couldn't film or I couldn't edit and I couldn't work, sort of thing. And other things might happen, like for example, it's happening now with coronavirus. This thing. So I wanted to sort of diversify my income with a bit. So I do a couple of podcasts now that I get some money from, and little bit of money from YouTube, not a great deal or something. But my plan was to move into making some of my income. But I was thinking 5 to 10 years. It's happened a lot quicker than I thought. And I do get messages from people who say, I'm struggling with YouTube. How do I grow or something like that? And I go to look at their site and they've done like 5 videos or something. I go, just keep going, do it. And also, I think what people need to remember is that whilst I've been doing it for, I don't know how many years we do it for, 2 or 3 years now. I can't remember when I started. And either 2 or 3 years I've been doing it from around this sort of time. But even though I've only been doing it for that amount of time, I've spent 20 years in edit suites and lots of times learning how to put things together, learning how to tell a story and things like that. So I'm already ahead of most people because I've got that experience. So I think looking long term is a sensible way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Just a few questions to finish up on now. You do the podcast with Jaackmate. I think it's the Happy Half Hour, which is kind of you two sharing or you kind of sharing your life lessons. And as we touched upon earlier, YouTube, it hasn't really got that as you say, the demographic is more younger people. So what would you say is kind of the secret to, it's quite a big question, but what would you kind of find is the secret to being happy, would you say, in kind of your experience? Or
I think that's a very good question. And it's something I think a lot about. And I've spent probably the last 10 years of my life trying to design a life that makes me happy. So there's a bit where my production, we had an office in London, and I thought, well, why am I going to London all the time? People that work there are freelancers. They can work from home. People I've worked with, I trust them all. So now I've got rid of that. It means I can be at home. I can do school run. I do work now that I know what makes me happy. So I think I'll do what allows me to hang out with the kids as much as possible. And that. So I think the hard bit is more finding out what makes you happy. I think for a lot of people, I think work out what makes you happy and really think about it. And the answer probably isn't having a nice car. It's probably other stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's more experiences or other things, and really work out what genuinely makes you happy. And then you sort of reverse engineer stuff from that. So really, I'm not into stuff. And I don't mean that in a sort of hippie way. I mean, when I was at a station recently. I went to WH Smith, well, before lockdown. But WH Smith, I thought I might get a magazine, and I looked and I was like, I'm not interested in any of these things. I'm not into cars. I'm not into. I play computer games. I dabble in things. I've got a car. I play computer games. I'm not obsessed with these things. So I don't really want to buy particular magazines. But I do really like skiing. So I think, well, I'd like to go skiing a couple of times a year. So I think, okay, how can I go skiing more? One of those ways would be if I didn't have to pay for skiing, because it's quite expensive. Yeah. So I'm making a lot of effort a couple of times a year at the minute, making very elaborate ski videos. I had one that came out for my trip to North America in March. I had one that came out on Sunday. I spent a week editing it. I was filming it for a week out there. I made a really high effort thing in the hope that within a few years or sooner, a company might go, hey, do you want to come on a free holiday? So pick things and then work out how you can do more of the things that you like and less of the things you don't. I think avoiding things you don't like is equally important. So I think I've said this before in a podcast, but I will, if I don't like driving in London, I can do it. I've done it, but I don't like the aggression and all that, and getting stuck in traffic and then having to find somewhere to park, and it's so complicated not going the wrong way and getting a ticket because you've gone down the wrong bit of a road or whatever. Like, it can be quite complicated. So what I would do is I would drive from Kent into London if I've got so much gear I can't go on the train, I would drive as far as I can into London. Once it starts to get a bit stressful, I'll just pull over and get an Uber the rest of the way with my stuff, because I know that I would pay £12 or whatever it is to
Yes.
not have the stress of driving around London sort of thing. So I think trying to minimise stress and trying to maximise the amount of what makes you happy.
Yeah, you touched on something really good there, where you was talking about kind of experience over things like cars, and I think as kind of a Western society, we're almost so gripped by kind of the materialism. Like one of my favourite presents I've received was from my girlfriend, and it was a painting, and I just think sometimes we're so kind of obsessed with that materialism, it can kind of distract us. And for me, I love football so much because of the sense of community you get.
Yeah,
I think sometimes, would you say as a society we don't particularly focus on the experiences and more so the social image?
Yeah, I think a lot of people define success by money or status and that, whereas and it's hard to say these things without sounding like like somewhere I'm hippie.
I get that, yeah.
But I would define success by if you're happy and how happy
I
you
love
are,
that, yeah.
or what you're doing, and going and. But also like how you overcome struggles or something like that, because there's some people might not be happy, but they're getting there, but they've started from a tougher position sort of thing, and they're getting there. But I mean, you could look at Donald Trump and you could say he's more successful than me because he's been on TV, he's got lots of money, he's president. But I can guarantee I'm happier in life than Trump. It's clear to see. I mean, he doesn't look like a man who's content. So by my metric, I would say I'm more successful than Trump in that part. So I think the better, and I think it's happening. I think the more we as a society chase happiness as the dream rather than money or status, then I think people will be better off.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of questions to finish up on. What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self? Would you say?
Not to worry as much. I think when you're younger, you're a bit more. You think people care about what you're doing more than they do. Like the reality is that most people just don't care, and not in a nasty way. They've just got their own stuff on. They just don't care what you're doing. Like I said to someone yesterday, and saying about how do you get over worries that people, if you want to start something and people are what will your friends think? I go, your friends don't care. If you're at school, people might take the piss out of you because they're insecure and they wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. But once you get to an adult, no one cares what you do. No one cares you start a YouTube channel. No one cares in the nicest possible sense. So I think just do more stuff. And I've been quite good at doing stuff. I think generally saying yes to things, you've got more chance of, within reason, you've got more chance of good things happening than saying no. An example that I use is my friend Sally, who I lived with for years, in when I was at Sky at Soccer AM. She we lived together out in Ealing, and we've been there for a day out drinking in Camden on a Sunday.
Okay.
We were on our way home, and I said, "Should we go for another drink?" We went, "Yeah, go on, we might as well." So we popped into the K West Hotel in Shepherd's Bush, which is, I don't know if it is now, but it used to be where all the bands would come through and stay there. And because I worked in music stuff, I'd always bump into people. I knew this. We thought we'll pop into K West, see if anyone was around. So I went there and Serge Kasabian was there. So we had a drink with him and met his friend Mikey. And through his friend Mikey, we met Mikey's, eventually, this is not that night, but another night, I met his friend Watsy, Rob, who then ended up marrying Sally.
Okay.
They went to New York. So they went to New York together first. They got married since. They went to New York. Sally went with him out to New York and won an Emmy while she was out there. She's watching TV. She watched Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations. And then they came back and they got kids. So because we went out for a drink that night, if we hadn't done that, she wouldn't have won an Emmy.
Wow.
Wouldn't have lovely twins. She wouldn't have got married to that guy anyway. So much happened because you said yes. And I'm not saying you should go out drinking every night, but I'd say put yourself out there and where you can say yes to things.
Yeah, well, I met my girlfriend actually through a night out as well. So yeah, you definitely. This is all about kind of putting yourself out there, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely, and meeting people, and things don't necessarily lead to what you think they will. People say, have you had any I was interviewing something and someone said, have you had any things that haven't, any projects that have failed? I went, well, there's things I've done, podcasts I've done that aren't here anymore. So you could say in that respect. By some things that could fail, but they've always led to something. Wouldn't necessarily expect it, but you've met someone from doing this, or this has led to something like that, or led to work or something like that. So, so just do stuff. I'd say that's my
definitely. Advice. Finally, Robbie, what does football and sport mean to you?
I really like it. I've become less obsessed with it over the years. In that I'll still get annoyed if Liverpool lose or if something happens and all that, but I'm a bit more. It's weird. I'm a bit more aware of how weird it is. Like the team I randomly began to support that I had no connection to as a kid beat the other random people. I'm sort of, that's in the back of my head a bit now. I still love watching it. That's what, and it's that I really love that community aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think for me, I've realised over years that international football is the right level for me because I'm never going to go to a team, even if Liverpool's close. I'm never going to go to a team every Saturday. I just can't. I just couldn't do it. But I could go to 3 or 4 games a year. That's the right level for me. So going to Scotland, I think is my main sort of active footballing stuff. And I really enjoy. Watching sport. I like the drama.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for coming on, Robbie. Where can people find you, mate?
If you want, if you are a football fan, you might want to listen to a podcast called Football Legends, which is a Spotify exclusive podcast where we read stories from football's autobiographies and talk about them. We had, from a Norwich point of view, we had Darren Huckabee on that recently. Legend, yeah, lovely man as well. He was on, and sometimes we have guests on, sometimes it's just stories, but lots of good stuff on there. Or if you want to watch me on YouTube, just search Robbie Knox and you can find me, and you'll learn very quickly whether or not it's something you'll enjoy. Well, why not?
It's very hard to hate your content, Robbie.
Do you know what? I think you're right. You might not necessarily like it, but it's quite hard. People are always saying, "Oh, you've got the lowest ratio of likes dislikes of anyone on YouTube."
Wow.
I still get that because it's never really offensive. And I try to keep it inclusive and all that. But I think it's quite hard to hate. Whether or not you like it is your own business, but it's quite hard to hate it. So yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. If you did enjoy, please like, subscribe. Wherever you've consumed this podcast, please leave your thoughts. And we'll see you later.